Imagine you are a world-class firefighter. You're standing on a mountain slope and a wall of flames is rushing toward you at 30 miles per hour. Your training tells you to run, but the fire is faster than any human can ever be. In that split second, your life depends on one thing: your ability to do something completely counterintuitive. You have to drop your heavy equipment. You have to drop the very tools you were trained to use, and you have to light a fire right at your feet. It sounds like madness, doesn't it? But this escape fire is the only thing that can save you. This is the core of what we are talking about today. Welcome back to the show. Today, we are exploring a book that I believe is the most important manual for the 21st century, Think Again by Adam Grant. We live in a world that rewards being right. We are taught from a young age that intelligence is about how much you know. But Adam Grant, an organizational psychologist at Wharton, argues that true intelligence is actually about how well you can unlearn and rethink. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand why your convictions might be your greatest cage, how to argue so that you actually win hearts instead of just points, and why the most successful people in the world are the ones who are most comfortable being wrong. Let's start with a hard truth. Most of us think we are objective, but we actually spend most of our lives acting like one of three characters: a preacher, a prosecutor, or a politician. Think about it. When our deeply held beliefs are challenged, we turn into preachers. We deliver sermons to protect our ideas. When we see a flaw in someone else's reasoning, we become prosecutors. We build a case to prove them wrong. And when we want to be liked or win an election, even just an office election, we become politicians. We tell people what they want to hear. The problem? None of these roles allow us to find the truth. They only allow us to defend what we already think. Adam Grant suggests a fourth role, the scientist. A scientist doesn't start with an answer. They start with a hypothesis. They look for reasons why they might be wrong, not just why they are right. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm a logical person. I'm not a preacher. But let's test that. When was the last time you changed your mind about something important? Not something small, like what to have for dinner, but something big, like your career path, your political stance, or how you raise your kids. If you can't remember, you might be stuck in a validation loop. You look for information that makes you feel good about your current beliefs, and you ignore the rest. In this book, Grant introduces us to the concept of the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's a fancy term for a simple problem. The less you know about a subject, the more likely you are to overestimate your expertise. We've all seen this on social media. Someone reads one article and suddenly they're an expert on global economics. But the real danger is the armchair quarterback syndrome. This is when we have high confidence but low competence. The antidote to this isn't just confidence, it's confident humility. This is the sweet spot. It's having faith in your ability to learn while having the humility to admit that you don't have the solution yet. It's saying, I believe in my capacity to figure this out, but I realize I might be using the wrong map. Before we dive into how to deal with people who totally disagree with you, and trust me, the persuasion section of this book is a game changer, let's take a quick breather. If you're enjoying this breakdown and you want to keep training your brain to think more clearly, do me a huge favor. Take 5 seconds to hit that follow button and leave us a review. It's the best way to support the show and keep these deep dives coming. And hey, if you disagree with anything I'm saying, even better, send me a message. Let's practice some Think Again principles together. Back to the big question. How do we get other people to rethink? We usually think the best way to win an argument is to pile on more logic. We give them 5 reasons why they are wrong, then 10, then 20. But Grant shows us that this actually backfires. It's called the backfire effect. When you give people too many reasons, they feel attacked. They stop listening and start building a wall. The most effective negotiators don't use more logic bombs. Instead, they do 3 things differently. First, they find common ground. They don't start with where they disagree. They start with where they agree. Second, they use fewer arguments. They pick the 2 strongest points and focus on them. If you give someone 10 reasons and one of them is weak, they will focus on that one weak reason and ignore the rest. Third, they ask questions. Instead of telling someone why they are wrong, they ask, what evidence would change your mind? If the answer is nothing, then you know you're not having a rational debate, you're talking to a preacher. One of my favorite stories in the book is about a vaccine whisperer. This is a doctor who talks to anti-vaxxers not by lecturing them on science, but by using motivational interviewing. He asks them about their fears. He listens. He doesn't judge. By the end of the conversation, the parents often decide to vaccinate their children on their own. Why? Because the doctor didn't force them to change. He helped them find their own internal motivation to rethink. This brings us to a very important point about our own lives: identity. Why is it so hard to rethink? Because our beliefs are often tied to our identity. If you identify as a hardcore vegan or a traditional conservative, then changing your mind about a policy or a diet feels like you are killing a part of yourself. Adam Grant suggests we should detach our identity from our opinions. Don't let your ideas become your ideology. Instead of saying, I am a person who believes X, try saying, I am a person who values the truth, and currently the data suggests X. This way, when the data changes, you don't lose your identity, you just update your software. Let's talk about the binary bias. This is the tendency to see everything as two-sided, pros and cons, left and right, success or failure. But the world isn't a coin flip, it's a prism. Most issues have dozens of sides. When we complexify a problem, when we admit that there are no easy answers, people actually become more open to listening. It lowers the tension. It makes us more like scientists and less like prosecutors. Think about your career for a moment. Many of us are stuck in escalation of commitment. We chose a major when we were 18, or we started a business 5 years ago, and even though we are miserable, we keep going because we've already invested so much. We don't want to admit we were wrong. But Grant argues that gritting your teeth is sometimes the worst thing you can do. There's a fine line between persistence and stubbornness. Rethinking your career path isn't quitting, it's pivoting based on new data about who you are today. As we move toward the end of this episode, I want to give you a Think Again toolkit. First, seek out challenge networks, not just support networks. We all love friends who tell us we're great, but we need friends who tell us when we're being biased or lazy. Find people who care about you enough to tell you that you're wrong. Second, embrace the joy of being wrong. Most people feel embarrassed when they make a mistake, but a scientist feels excited. Why? Because being wrong is the only way to know you've just learned something new. It's a sign of growth. Third, rewrite your own story. You are not a finished product. You are a work in progress. Every day is an opportunity to look at your old habits and ask, does this still serve me? Is this still true? To wrap everything up, here is your Adam Grant Think Again cheat sheet. First, beware of the preacher, the prosecutor, and the politician within you. Aim to be a scientist. Treat your opinions as hypotheses that need to be tested, not as truths that need to be defended. Second, in an argument, don't overwhelm people with information. Ask more questions and listen more than you speak. The goal isn't to win, it's to find the truth together. And third, separate your identity from your ideas. You are a person who learns, not a person who knows everything. Thank you so much for joining me today. We've covered a lot of ground, from escape fires on mountains to the psychological traps in our own heads. If you found this helpful, please share this episode with that one friend who loves to argue. You know the one. Maybe it'll give you both a new way to talk. Until next time, stay curious, keep questioning your own assumptions, and remember, the most important things you know today might be the very things you need to unlearn tomorrow. I'm so glad we could think again together.